Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, I will be talking about the medieval black market. It's 1348. You're standing on a damp dock in Venice. The city is asleep, but the shadows are moving. A small boat glides silently up to the pier. No bells ring. No customs officers are shouting. Just a quick exchange of heavy sacks and a pouch of gold coins. What's in the sacks? Is it poison? Stolen jewels? Maybe, but more likely it's just wool. Or maybe some salt. Boring, right? Wrong. In the Middle Ages, trading everyday items outside the watchful eye of the guilds or the king wasn't just a side hustle. It was a high-stakes game of cat and mouse that could get you fined, banished, or even executed. We usually think of medieval crime as highwaymen robbing coaches, but the real criminal masterminds weren't holding swords, they were holding ledgers. Today, we're diving into the medieval black market, the smuggling rings, the illegal luxuries, and the shadow trades that actually kept the economy running. Let's get into it. To understand the black market, you have to understand one thing about the Middle Ages. Everything was taxed. And I mean everything. Imagine trying to drive from New York to Boston, but every 10 miles, someone stops your car and demands $50 just to let you pass. That was medieval Europe. You had tolls on bridges, tolls at city gates, tolls for using the river, and tolls just for existing in a marketplace. Local lords needed money for wars and castles, so they squeezed the merchants. If you were a wool merchant in England trying to sell to Flanders, the king took a massive cut. This created what economists call an incentive gap, or as normal people call it, a reason to hide your stuff. Smuggling wasn't just for criminals, it was for regular people trying to survive. If you could row your boat past the toll collector at night, you just increased your profit by 50%. This is where we see the rise of the owlers. These were English smugglers who transported wool and sheep at night to avoid the crown's massive export taxes. They signaled each other with owl hoots, hence the name. It sounds cute, but these groups could be incredibly serious, fighting what amounted to private wars against customs officers.
So, besides avoiding taxes on boring stuff like wool, what were people actually smuggling? First up, luxury goods. After the Crusades, Europe developed a taste for Eastern goods, silk, pepper, cinnamon, and nutmeg. But these items were incredibly expensive and tightly controlled. If a city put an embargo on a rival city, the trade didn't stop, it just went underground. Venetian merchants were known for trading with factions the Pope deemed enemies, like the Ottoman Empire or Mamluk Egypt, even when facing excommunication. Profit often outweighed piety. But here is the weirdest black market sector: holy relics. In the Middle Ages, possessing a saint's finger bone or a splinter of the true cross was like having a tourist attraction that printed money. Pilgrims would flock to your church. So, naturally, a massive black market for fake and stolen relics exploded. There were professional relic thieves who would break into crypts, steal bones, and sell them to churches in other regions. Worse, fraudsters would take a random animal bone, embellish it, and sell it as a holy artifact. It was the medieval equivalent of selling fake Rolexes, but with eternal salvation on the line.
Now let's talk about the guilds. We tend to romanticize them as brotherhoods of craftsmen, but in reality, they often functioned as ruthless monopolies. If you wanted to make shoes, bake bread, or weave cloth, you had to be in the guild. They set the prices, the standards, and they decided who was allowed to work. So, what happened if you weren't in the guild? You became an illegal interloper. This created a huge shadow economy of bungle work or botch jobs. These were goods made by non-guild artisans working in secret attics or cellars. They sold their goods on the outskirts of town or in the dark corners of markets. Sometimes these illegal goods were terrible quality, but often they were just cheaper. The guilds hated this. They would conduct raids on people's homes, smashing illegal looms and burning unauthorized bread. It was legally sanctioned industrial sabotage. But the public often appreciated the black market because it was the only place to get goods at a price that didn't include the guild's monopoly markup.
You can't talk about the black market without talking about the logistics. Where did all this illegal stuff go? Enter the sanctuary cities and pirate ports. Places like the Cinque Ports in England or certain islands in the Mediterranean operated with their own sets of rules. Smugglers needed safe havens. Entire towns' economies sometimes revolved around fencing stolen goods. If a pirate ship captured a Genoese merchant vessel, they wouldn't just sink the cargo. They'd sail to a friendly port,
maybe in North Africa or Cornwall, and auction it off. Local mayors and lords would often look the other way, in exchange for a cut of the profits or cheap luxury goods. It was an open secret. You could walk into a market in a coastal town and buy French wine that had fallen off the back of a ship for half the price. This shadow trade also included the darkest commodity, people. The slave trade was a significant part of the medieval black market, with traders moving people from non-Christian lands into Muslim Spain, North Africa, and the Middle East. It was a brutal, but highly profitable enterprise.
So, what happened if you got caught? It wasn't pretty. Punishments for smuggling were designed to be a deterrent. For minor offenses, you might be put in the stocks for public humiliation. But for major smuggling operations, the consequences were severe. Fines could bankrupt your entire family for generations. Banishment was common. For repeat offenders, or those who fought back against customs officials, execution was a very real possibility. Authorities tried everything to stop it. They built customs houses, hired armed patrols, and offered rewards for turning in smugglers. The church tried to stop the trade of fake relics by issuing authentication tags, but even those were easily forged. Ultimately, it was an impossible battle. The geography of Europe, with its thousands of miles of coastline and countless winding roads, made it perfect for smugglers. For every smuggler caught, 10 more slipped through the net. The profit was just too high, and the demand for cheaper goods and forbidden items never went away. So, the medieval black market wasn't just a sideshow. It was a complex, parallel economy that influenced everything from international politics to what people ate for dinner. It was driven by the same forces that drive black markets today: high taxes, prohibition, and the desire for things you're not supposed to have. The smugglers, the forgers, and the shadow traders of the Middle Ages weren't just criminals. They were a fundamental, if illegal, part of the medieval world. They challenged the power of kings and guilds, and in their own way, they kept the wheels of commerce turning, one secret deal at a time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed learning about the shadier side of history, make sure to like and subscribe for more. See you next time.